Now it's time for Tennessee WildCast, live from Studio B at the TWRA headquarters in Nashville. Here are your hosts, Doug and Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. I'm Jason Harmon. Next to me here is Mr. Doug Markham, and we got a good show for you today.
We sure do.
It's going to be a need-to-hear show. We got some good information that's going to be talking about our trout in Tennessee, and there's a little bit of a disease that's hit some waters out in East Tennessee, and we need to let y'all know about it.
We'll explain it. We got great trout fishing in Tennessee, not meant to scare anybody. We'll get to it in a minute, but just to keep them informed, and we'll explain what that is. So hang with us for a few minutes. It's about a disease called whirling disease.
Whirling disease. And
we'll get to it in a minute, and it's not chronic wasting disease.
No.
It's not Asian carp, but it's something we got to be worried about.
It's another invasive.
And we'll get to our guest in just a minute, too, okay?
Yeah, Mr. Brandon Simcox.
We will. We'll get to Brandon in just a minute. Want to show him something real quick?
Yeah, hold that up there.
I'll do it as best I can. Here.
There you go.
This is the new fishing guide.
It's out.
It's
or will be
sort of out
in your hands. It arrived at the office today.
Yeah, so it's going to be sent to all the regional offices, which for y'all means everywhere, Middle East and West and East, all over the place. Cumberland Plateau, they'll be delivered this week, and then the officers actually carry them everywhere. So give the officers time to pick them up. One of many things that our wildlife officers do. They do a ton of stuff that people don't know about, and one of them's mailman.
Yeah.
So they'll get them delivered to you, and there's some good information in here to get you through this year. Not any tremendously big changes, but if you want to find changes, make sure you look in the very early section of the
what page is that?
Page that is page 4.
Page 4.
And I know it's silly to kind of show this far away, but page 4, you will see here the information that this just shows you what the changes are in
some
the
of
original
the
stuff.
new things that you might want to make sure you look at.
Yep. So there you
Good
go.
looking cover.
Yep.
Shows a couple fishermen out there.
Out there in the sunrise.
Is that a sunrise? Sunset? Sunrise. It could be either, I guess.
I think it's probably sunrise.
Nice orange glow.
I'm guessing. Yeah, anyway, it's fishing, which is cool.
Hey, something's coming up this weekend. The NWTF convention is going on, and we've got a pretty cool display going to be out there next to the Bass Pro trailer.
We do. This is something that it's not turkey. I mean, it's an NWTF. And there's a lot of deer discussion that goes on at NWTF. And we also have something happening here, a national conference in a few weeks called the Southeastern Deer Study Group, which you've been involved with, helping them out with some stuff. And this display, the really, really huge one, is going to be at Bass Pro. Next to the Bass Pro booth at the NWTF convention out at Opryland Hotel.
Correct.
And so there's going to be like 60 Tennessee deer out there that are monsters. If you don't think we have monster deer in Tennessee, stop by that booth. It's in the back of the main hall.
Yeah, back corner there.
Back corner there. And Dale Grandstaff, Captain Dale Grandstaff, has headed this up and collected these deer from all across the state. And I don't mean just Middle Tennessee. I'm talking about West and East. You're going to be surprised at some of the deer that he has out there that are so impressive.
Really unique is there's a cluster buck display. So all the deer and the bucks that are similar to Stephen Tucker's deer that he killed a couple of years ago, it's going to be all the cluster bucks that have been harvested, or most of them, the ones that we know of, killed in Tennessee, which is really cool.
Yeah, we're hoping to get a photograph today of the display. They're actually working on it as we speak to you today, and we couldn't get it in time. But there's going to be the cluster buck display, about a dozen deer, give or take, of these deer that have this genetic thing going with their antlers, and it's how the cluster, everywhere. It's how Stephen Tucker's buck got so many points, and you'll see these other bucks. They're beautiful. It's just a different, gnarly kind of looking antlers, set of racks, and
it's a pretty cool, non-typical.
Yeah, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of other deer with that, and then at the Southeastern, they're just going to take the 13 deer, I think, or 14.
Well, I think they're going to have most of them out there.
Are they going to?
Yeah, that's a big study.
You're right, actually.
We might have it backwards.
Correct.
I don't know. Anyway,
I might. Yeah.
Check out the cluster bug display at NWTF this weekend. And
that was awful nice to say that we might have it backwards, because it might be. I may have it exactly just the opposite. But you're also invited to go to the Southeastern.
The Southeastern is open to the public. There's a registration fee, so if you want to attend, that you can pay that and attend and hear these biologists and these students and all these people across the state, these knowledgeable deer biologists talking about deer.
And it's the Maxwell House Millennium Hotel.
Yes, in Nashville,
and they'll
Tennessee.
be out there, and that we'll talk about that again before, but it's 19 through 21, I believe, and so it's a chance for you to go see these things. We'll be putting them on our Facebook. You'll have a chance to look at them on our Facebook pages, but there's nothing like looking at them right there in person.
Yeah, it's going to be neat to see.
So, and I want to remind everyone too, your hunting guide, don't throw them in the garbage can, because the turkey season, which isn't all that far away now, that's why NWTF is in town.
Yep.
It's a good sign that it's coming, and it has all your hunting information in it about turkeys too. So it's been in there for quite a while. I think most people know that now, but just want to make sure.
Yep.
And I guess that's it, unless you got something else.
I don't think so.
All right.
Let's hit on this whirling disease.
Well, let's introduce him from the top.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Our guest today is Brandon Simcox. He is the River and Streams coordinator for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Brandon, you have been on here before talking about winter trout, and you're just a good fisherman in general. But you got some cool stuff going on with the winter trout still. But let's talk about the whirling disease. Let's get that out of the way. And when it's over, let's talk about what's left of the winter trout stocking, okay?
Yep.
So first of all, tell us what your position is. What do you do in that?
So I'm the statewide Rivers and Streams coordinator. So I really just I work with our regional Rivers and Streams managers across the state within the regions, coordinate trout stocking, things like that across the state, and
Okay, that's a big job.
yeah,
All right, very big job.
It's a fun job, right?
it's great.
It's fun. You know, a part of doing what you do, Brandon, is not everything's always perfect out there. Critters are just like people. They get diseases, viruses, whatever. They get sick too.
Yeah.
And, of course, when they get sick, they can't run off to the doctor like we can. So we just have to try to find ways to minimize it and to let the public know. And you need to let the public know something about something called whirling disease. What is that?
Right. So, I guess to back it up, we just recently, from our annual monitoring that we do every year on our trout streams across the state, had discovered whirling disease in the South Holston and the Watauga tailwaters. Whirling disease is it's a condition caused by a non-native microscopic parasite. And so whirling disease impacts fish in the trout and salmon family. Once it infects a trout, it will attack the central nervous system of the trout and begin attacking the skeletal tissue and the cartilage of those fish. And it can cause deformations in the skull and the spine, develop a black tail like the picture that we got here.
Are we showing there? There you go. Okay. This is on our website. We'll talk about it in a minute too.
It can also cause problems with their equilibrium and cause them to swim in a erratic circling or whirling motion where the name of the disease really comes from. So we through our sampling, we just got confirmation back from the samples that we sent off to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that we indeed are positive now for whirling disease in the state.
Where is that? Is that on the scale of 1 to awful? I mean, chronic wasting disease, we don't know that we have it in deer, but if we get it, it's terrible. What about whirling disease?
Well, whirling disease can have it can really have different impacts depending on where you're at. The disease has been, or the parasite that causes whirling disease has been in the U.S. since about the 1950s. It was first discovered in Pennsylvania. It's native to Europe. In many parts of the U.S., it really hasn't had any major negative impacts. However, in Colorado, Montana, they have seen actually very detrimental impacts to their trout populations. They saw a loss of up to 90% of their trout population within this one stream due to the impacts of whirling disease. Now, over time, that was in the 90s. Over time, the system has started to rebound and the populations are continuing to grow back. But it can have serious impacts on our trout populations.
Okay, we're going to ask you how it gets transported and all that, but where is it right now in Tennessee?
So right now we have confirmed detections of it in the South Holston tailwater and the Watauga tailwaters, both in East Tennessee, far East Tennessee. So big numbers of it, or? Well, that's kind of a hard question, I guess. So we sent off a certain number of samples to the Fish and Wildlife Service for review, and just about all those samples came back positive. So there's, I guess, a difference between whether a fish is infected with the parasite and then a diseased fish. Okay. And so a fish may be infected and not actually display the symptoms of whirling disease, while a diseased fish, would have some of these deformations. Okay, got a lot of good questions we're going to get to, but of course the first thing coming to my mind, let's go ahead and knock it out of the way. Is it dangerous to the angler who might want to eat one of these fish? It's not at all. So this parasite actually requires 2 very specific hosts. It's once it's introduced into the system, it requires a aquatic worm that lives in the sediment of most or all streams, lakes, things like that. It's very common. It's across the nation. They're very common. And then, so once it gets into that worm there, it kind of multiplies and transforms into a spore, is released into the water column, and once it has to come in contact with a trout for it to be, to continue on with its life cycle.
Okay, so if the water didn't get too many of these spores in there, it may not
right,
spread
the prevalence
so much.
of
So
it could be. Yeah.
It's not the fish and fish touching each other, or
right.
Okay.
It's in the water, and yep.
Okay, and apparently it likes cold water.
Right. Yep. Like I said, it requires trout to for part of its life cycle. So yeah, and trout live in cold water, systems. So.
All right. So how's it getting transported?
So, I mean, it can transport a few different ways. Once in a system, it can be transported, through natural kind of just transgression through the system from distribution of water and fish movement around, things like that. But it can also be transported through the movement of infected fish, through the movement of bait buckets, things like that, water from those systems. It can also be moved around through contact with your waders. So if you go and you're fishing in a stream that has it is positive for whirling disease, you hop out, you have mud and things like that all over your boots. The spores can get in your boots and your different parts of your waders, things like that.
Waders with all those different folds in it. Yeah.
And then you move to another water body. There's a good chance that you could be moving, that non-native parasite into another water body. So it can move that way.
Does it affect? Is it just a rainbow trout issue?
So in Tennessee, it can affect brown trout, rainbow trout, brook trout, and then we have lake trout also. But each of these species really have different susceptibility to infection, and then also different susceptibility to the symptoms of the infection. And so brown trout typically are what they call asymptomatic, which means that they get infected, but very rarely do they actually show the symptoms of whirling disease, while rainbow trout are very highly susceptible to it and really succumb to the infection.
So you're wading down the middle of one of these tailwaters and you see a fish. You're literally going to see, I know they come up a lot and dimple while they're eating. What are they going to look like when they're coming up?
Yeah, and it'll be just that. Though not all fish, but if that certain condition is being impacted, their equilibrium's off, you'll see them just kind of lackadaisically swimming in a circle. Or you'll find them, if you're an angler out there and you're catching them, you'll find them with these crooked backs like that, or these really compressed, kind of deformed skulls, things like that. So,
okay, all right. Do they live a relatively? I might be asking you more than I should here. Do they live a relatively normal? Will they actually bite? Are they still feeding fish? Or are they dying fish?
Oh no, for sure they will. And, a fish might not always die actually directly from the infection or the disease, but it can make them more susceptible to predation, and maybe it can impact the way that they do feed. But it just really depends on the symptoms that they're showing.
Okay. And so you're sending these off for testing. Are we talking about from the dam at these tailwaters all the way down to where?
No, we're sampling basically the distribution of the tailwater. So basically all the trout habitat within those certain areas. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, of course, if there's other things that live in these cold water. There's bass and crappie and catfish and some of it. Mm-hmm. Can it be transferred to any of those?
No, it can't. Like I said, it needs to. It can only infect trout and salmon.
Only trout
and salmon.
Wow.
Yep. So it's very specific. Yeah.
I guess the catfish and bass are happy about that. Okay. What other concerns do you have about the populations? What's it going to do to the wild trout populations?
Well, I think that's really one of our immediate concerns right now. Most of our tailwaters are stocked, and they're coming from our hatcheries, adult fish. Within our wild trout populations, though, this disease really can impact younger year fish, so in the early stages of development. Like you see on the picture right here, their skeletal tissue and it is still very soft, so they can get it gets attacked and eaten, I guess, a little bit easier than an adult fish with a little bit harder skeletal tissue. And
I know
cartilage.
It's the horrible scenario, but what happens if this thing does go widespread? What do we do? What's the age? Have y'all gotten that far yet, or are you just too early to?
Well, so there is no known cure for whirling disease. Once it's established, it's here. There's no way to get rid of it. But we do have agency protocols that are in place. We annually check our hatcheries every year for whirling disease and other things within the hatchery that could be causing problems. And all of our hatcheries to date are clear. We want to make sure that we're not one of the ones that are spreading whirling disease around.
Well, that's a great point. What if somebody goes to one of these infected areas and decides they want to take trout out and stock their favorite little small stream that's got? What happens there?
Yeah, no, we can't be. We don't want you doing that. We don't want you moving fish from water body to water body, and live fish or dead fish too. Don't catch a fish in one stream, take it over to your neighbor, another stream over, and clean it and all that, and throw the fish parts in the.
Could literally just the fish parts? It could spread just off a fish part. So don't throw your carcass back into any water body. Right. Take it out and take it with you. And if somebody catches a fish that looks like what we've been showing,
the big thing for us is just please let us know right now. We're taking all of these. This is very serious for sure. And so we actually have an email address set up. You can go on the website that is on the webpage. And it's TWRA.whirlingdisease@tn.gov. Take a picture of the fish, send us a location, the picture, and we'll move on.
Okay, and of course it's on our website. That's a straight link to it. But if you can't get all that in, it's tnwildlife.org and it's under fish.
It's under fisheries. Yep, and on the right hand side, I believe there's a management section, and it's under there. So whirling disease.
It says whirling disease. WHIRLING, right?
Yep.
Whirling disease. Okay, what else do they need to know about him?
Well, now that the disease is here, the biggest thing that we can do is really try to prevent the spread of it. And so really emphasizing for us to really clean and drain any bait buckets, clean our gear, dry our gear, anything like that. If you're an angler and you're going out and you're fishing, at the end of the day, you can go back home. If you plan on fishing the next day or fishing somewhere else, you can go home. You can use a 10% bleach solution. Just throw that in a bucket, fill the bucket up, and put your waders in there, your boots, set it in there. That will kill the parasite. And then once you're done, just spray your waders off and all that, and you'll be ready to go. Or you can allow your waders to dry for about up to 3 days.
Kind of sounds like we're talking about zebra mussels again.
It really is.
All over.
And these protocols right here, it would be great to help stop the spread of any other aquatic nuisance species that we have, like diddy moe and things like that. So
okay, so take care of that. And this is the era of kayaks and of course canoes too. So clean the bottom of them off.
Yep, clean it off. Now. It'd be a good idea to maybe take a little brush out, things like that. When you get done, just kind of knock all the mud off, things like that. If you have a little plastic spray bottle, you can put the bleach solution in there, kind of spray everything down, let it soak. It needs about a 10-minute contact time with that bleach solution to
have you put that on the website, or we'll get it on there?
We'll get more of the specific stuff on there on how to properly clean your gear. But that'll go up.
Okay, all right, Brandon. Jason, you got anything else?
No, I think that's all good stuff. That clean, drain, dry, drip, dry, all that stuff that applies to just about anything as far as not.
It really does. And you've got a video out there, right?
Yeah, we cut some commercials and some PSAs with Michael Neal out East Tennessee talking about cleaning off your boat and that kind of thing, but not specific to whirling disease, but we're going to be doing some of that.
Clean it up and take care of all those things.
And then also we actually, through our Region 3 crew out at Tellico, they had worked with the local high school there and had developed these cleaning stations, and a few of those have actually gone out across the state. And so we'll work to get those locations up online too.
Great.
But some of them are at fly shops. One's there at the Tellico Fish Hatchery. So if you're up in, fishing the Tellico River, some of those wild trout streams up in there, give a stop by. You can clean your waders off. So that'll be, it'd be a big help.
We'll be getting more out. You'll see if you go to our website regularly, you'll see it there. If you're not on our Facebook, you should be. Our Twitter feed, Instagram feed, all that stuff. We're very involved in that now and putting fresh information out there every day. So if you're not there, go there to get all this kind of information. Unless you got TMWildlife.org, and unless you got something else about this, I want to talk to you about winter trout for a minute.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, how's it going?
It's good. I've personally been going out and absolutely wearing the fish out. I've tried to put a hurting on them for sure. But yeah, fishing's been good. We've been going out, as I mentioned on maybe the last WildCast that I was on. We've been going and interviewing anglers and talking to them, seeing how everything's going, what their perception is, and yeah, anglers seem to be very happy. The fishing's been really good, and so yeah, it's been.
You caught any of those?
I have not.
Magic ones in there.
I've talked to a few of the guys out there that have caught the albinos, that have caught the other big rainbow trout stockers that have been put in there. But yeah, I haven't been so fortunate.
We went out to Shelby Lake. Jason and I did the other. Shelby Lake is a small lake in Middle Tennessee, and we watched them stock a couple in there. It was like, I want to go fishing now.
Yeah,
of course we couldn't that day, but yeah, they were impressive.
Yeah, they're wearing them out in there. That's one of the ones we've been going to and talking to the anglers, and yeah, they're doing really well in there.
Okay, we want to remind everyone, you go to the site, and we've got a tile or an icon right on the homepage that says winter trout stocking. You can go in there and click on it, and it takes you right to the page. And Brandon, I'm assuming they're still updating the site if something has to be postponed, and then they're rescheduled.
Exactly.
Of course, we're getting the time of year where the code's about to get out of here, and this stocking will go on through the rest of February and a little bit into March.
A few places, into March, and then we'll start transferring over to our spring stocking schedule, which hits a lot of the streams.
And where will they find that spring stocking schedule?
That's also on the website under the trout information page and stocking schedule, and then you also can find it in the regulation guide. Yep.
Okay, so if you don't like to go to the website, it's right in our guide, and a little bit different there. We'll tell you exactly where we're going to stock in the day of in the winter. In spring, we usually tell you the week of in the body of water. Right, correct. Yep. Okay. All right, good fishing. And what have you been using mostly for bait for these winter trout?
So I've been mainly using trout magnets.
Oh, it's great bait.
That's always great. Itching for tips.
Yeah,
always looking.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really well. I've been fishing Kingston Springs, one of the ponds. It's a little small pond over there, and then below the Percy Priest Dam on the Stones River. Been doing really well there.
Those white bass aren't running yet over there.
I haven't caught any, no, not yet.
If you do, will you tell me?
Yeah,
If you don't, I'm going to say bad things.
I've got some hot tips from some guys out there when I've been doing interviews talking about the crappie moving up in there below the dam, and so
man,
yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out in the spring.
Okay, all right. Hey, Jason wants to take him fishing.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go.
Yeah, I'll go with Brandon.
Catch a fish. You got anything else, Jason?
I don't think so. Just clean, drain, dry. That sounds like it's the most important thing with this whirling disease.
It's just constant.
Don't move it. Don't move it around, and keep it contained if you can.
All of this is our natural resources. We all got to take responsibility for them and try to help things happen, make work as best they can. And, again, disease is just a fact of life.
Right.
Stuff. And
yep. And it's something that we'll be monitoring for sure moving forward. We'll be going out and we'll be sampling for whirling disease across the state now. So.
Okay. You're always welcome to come back and give us an update.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever you need, okay? All right. That's all I got.
Thanks for watching this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Keep coming back. Thanks for tuning in when you can and watching us on Facebook and YouTube and all those fun places. And don't forget our social medias. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on all three. And the website, TWRA.org, is the place.
Love your comment on Facebook. Just be nice, okay?
Yeah, just be nice. Come on.
Everybody here's just trying to help you out.
Just trying to help you, the sportsman,
all right.
have a better experience in outdoors.
That's right. All right.
We'll see you all next time on Tennessee WildCast.